Chosen one. There are moments in life when a man realizes he was never meant to blend in. You were not molded in the furnace of fashion, trends, or fleeting desire. You were carved in silence, shaped by divine hands that never trembled. Before you were ever complimented or noticed, you carried something deep within: distinction. It was not something you earned. It was something you were born with. And from the very beginning, even when the world couldn't see it, your soul already knew. You felt the pull, the discomfort of average, the restlessness when surrounded by noise. You were never at home in shallow waters because you were designed for depth. This magnetic force that seems to follow you, this presence that bends attention your way, is not the result of luck or charm. It is the outflow of something far more ancient. It's the reflection of divine craftsmanship that runs deeper than skin, wider than charisma, and more enduring than anything a mirror can hold. You were not just born, you were sent. Heaven did not casually place you here. You were commissioned, sculpted, and set apart. Even as a boy, you felt different. Not necessarily better, but marked. While others ran to be seen, you often stood still. While others spoke to fill space, you learned to listen for what was missing. Your silence held more weight than noise. Your questions cut deeper than rehearsed answers. And though you couldn't always explain it, you knew something about you was built for more. The pressure you felt in life wasn't punishment, it was preparation. The loneliness, the rejection, the seasons where nothing made sense, those were the forge. They didn't make you, they revealed you. The magnetism you now carry isn't something you added to yourself, it's something that emerged once everything false fell away. It's the natural resonance of a man who has survived the stripping, endured the silence, and still chosen to walk with purpose. Chosen one, this origin is not to be forgotten. It is your foundation. It is why people feel peace around you without understanding why. It's why your presence can still a room, stir a heart, or awaken courage in someone else. You don't need to speak for this to be known. You only need to be, because who you are is already the message. The world will dress it in terms like confidence or swag or vibe, but the truth is simpler and older. You were designed to be magnetic because you were called to lead through stillness, not noise. So do not shrink when others try to explain you. Do not lower your frequency to match what is easier to understand. You are not an echo. You are an origin. And everything you carry now began long before anyone applauded it. It was God who wrote it, and heaven has never been wrong. There is something about you now, chosen one, that you no longer question. You've stopped trying to figure out why people stare longer than they mean to, or why women speak softer when you're near, or why rooms seem to pause slightly when you enter. You no longer doubt that your presence is different. And that difference is not arrogance, it is alignment. Your soul has started to walk in rhythm with your purpose, and when that happens, even your stillness becomes louder than noise. You no longer have to reach out to be noticed. You don't push, you pull. But you don't pull with force. You pull with gravity. The kind of gravity that's born not from effort, but from essence. The kind that grows stronger the more you let go of pretending. This is the mystery people feel when they encounter you. Not because you're trying to be seen, but because you're finally seen by God, and you know it. Women don't just look at you, they lean inward. They sense something different. Not just attraction, but clarity. You do not move with desperation, and that creates safety. You do not flinch under pressure, and that creates reverence. You do not perform, and that creates curiosity. There is something magnetic about a man who is no longer driven by the need to prove himself, but who lives as someone who has already been claimed by something eternal. This pull is not surface level. It's not built on image, brand, or fashion. It's built on foundation. It's the result of inner excavation, of going deep enough within yourself to uproot what doesn't belong. And once you cleared that space, what emerged was truth. And truth, when it lives in a man, draws. It draws the right people. It repels the wrong ones. It creates calm without controlling. It demands nothing but makes people rise just by being around it. Chosen one, don't mistake this pull as a tool to be used. It is not a trick, it is a testimony. It's the silent result of walking through the fire and still choosing to bless, not burn. Your magnetism isn't about seduction, it's about stability. The world is flooded with noise, with distraction, with men who shout to be seen. You are not that. You don't need to be that. Your pull is the result of standing still in a world that spins too fast and still being centered. There is no effort in this anymore. You've stopped trying to be magnetic because you've started to be real. And real is always attractive. Real is always rare. And rare, chosen one, is always remembered. Chosen one, there is a reason your silence disturbs the uncentered and comforts the aligned. Your stillness is not absence. It is presence in its most disciplined form. You are not passive. You are precise. And that precision comes from years of chaos you did not run from, but chose to stand inside until you understood it. What others tried to escape, you endured. Where others cracked, you absorbed. You became still not because nothing could touch you, but because everything tried and failed to break you. This is why your stillness carries authority. Stillness is not the lack of movement. It is the mastery of energy. You don't speak to fill silence anymore. You let silence do the speaking for you. You don't posture for respect. You command it by not needing it. You walk into rooms not to be noticed, but to observe, to discern, to decide, not react. The magnetic quality people feel when you simply sit, when you simply watch, is the byproduct of inner mastery. That's what they're responding to. They feel safe around you, even if they don't understand why. And in a world addicted to stimulation, your stillness becomes a sacred disruption. This stillness is rare because it cannot be borrowed. It must be built. It is not inherited through words. It is inherited through weight, through long nights where your prayers echoed back without answers, through betrayals that silenced your ego, through lessons that came not as wisdom, but as pain. And yet you chose to stay soft in spirit. You didn't let pain make you bitter. You let it make you deeper. That depth now lives in your stillness. And people feel that when they sit near you. Your stillness does not compete. It doesn't demand attention. It draws truth to the surface just by being there. You've become the kind of man who slows things down just by showing up. People speak more honestly around you. Women laugh softer. Children instinctively respect you. Because there's nothing loud in your energy, yet it's undeniable. It's the energy of a man who is no longer moved by the waves because he became the ocean. And that, chosen one, is why people stare when you say nothing. Why others feel compelled to confess things to you they haven't even admitted to themselves. Because stillness, when refined through fire, becomes sanctuary. And your stillness is not an accident, it's an assignment. It is the gateway to the spiritual force within you. It does not push, it invites, it does not convince, it confirms. You were not made to be noise. You were made to be a still flame. One that doesn't flicker, doesn't shout, but continues to burn quietly until the entire room feels it. There's something different in your eyes now, chosen one. Not just confidence, but memory. Not just focus, but evidence. Your gaze no longer scans for approval, it discerns presence. You no longer look to measure yourself, you know yourself. And because of that, your eyes carry the stories your voice has outgrown. There's a steady gravity behind your gaze, one that does not waver in the face of beauty or threat. People feel seen, not judged. Women feel understood, not evaluated. And enemies hesitate because they can't find fear in your pupils. You've stared into your own void. You've met your shadows and invited them to dinner, not denial. And that self-honesty now radiates through your eyes. The world has tried to dim them. Life has tried to tire them. But something sacred still burns behind them. Something unshakable. Your gaze carries the full weight of your alignment, and that weight is felt in ways that words could never replicate. You don't scan a room. You read it. You don't just see faces, you see motives, intent, spirit. And because your gaze is no longer desperate to be liked, it mirrors people back to themselves. They either rise in your presence or retreat. Because your eyes offer no mask, no game, no flattery. They are gateways of truth, of restraint, of clarity. And clarity, in a world intoxicated with illusion, is disruptive. Chosen one, this gaze of yours is not just observation, it is declaration. It says, I know who I am. It says, I know what I carry. It says, I no longer chase what is unsure. Your gaze is the kind of gaze that makes people question their reflection, not because you condemn, but because you reflect a higher standard. You don't look to take, you look to understand. And when women encounter that depth, they don't just feel seen, They feel safe. Not because you lack power, but because you no longer use it to impress. You use it to protect. This is the gaze of a man who has returned from war, inner war. The kind that doesn't leave scars but sharpens sight. You've cried in silence, you've studied in pain, you've watched time move and chose not to race it. You've watched people leave and chose not to chase them. And now, your eyes carry the dignity of someone who has nothing to prove, because the proof is in the presence. So keep your gaze strong, chosen one. It is your banner. It is the quiet sermon that others hear when your mouth is still. And for those who truly see you, they'll understand what they're witnessing. Not just a man, but a mirror, a lighthouse, a vision of what it looks like when God builds stillness, strength, and certainty into a human soul and places it in full view. Chosen one, you no longer walk like you're looking for a destination. You walk like you are one. There is rhythm in your movement now, not because you practiced it in front of mirrors or studied the swagger of others, but because your soul has finally caught up with your stride. Your steps are not measured in ego or bravado. They are weighed in stillness, sharpened by suffering, and lit by the fire of quiet purpose. You walk like you belong, not in the places others build, but in the path you carve by presence alone. Everywhere you go now, space rearranges itself around you. It's not loud, it's not announced, it simply happens. People clear the way not out of fear, but out of instinct. Something about the way you carry yourself tells them they're in the presence of someone who remembers himself. That kind of memory, that identity deeply rooted and hard-earned, cannot be mimicked. It cannot be borrowed from books or soaked up from empty praise. It can only be forged in the quiet repetition of choosing self-respect, even when no one else is watching. And now that self-respect lives in your walk. You no longer hurry. You no longer shuffle. Your pace is deliberate, and even in stillness, you feel in motion. You are never rushing because time does not own you. You understand its flow. You don't follow schedules like chains. You move through them like waves, bending them around your intention. That's what happens when a man knows who sent him. That's what happens when a man stops apologizing for his energy and begins to honor it instead. You don't stomp to prove a point. You don't tiptoe to fit in. You glide like someone who trusts the ground beneath him was prepared, not borrowed. And women notice, not because you walk for them, but because you walk free from them. That is the paradox. You do not bend your steps to draw attention, but attention follows you anyway. Not the kind based in fantasy or superficial thrill, but the kind anchored in curiosity, reverence, and the question, what does this man know that others have forgotten? And the truth is, chosen one, you know yourself. You have stopped betraying your own pace to catch up with people who were never walking your road. And that holy commitment to your own rhythm now radiates through every step you take. When you walk into a room now, it doesn't just feel like someone entered, it feels like a shift occurred. Because your movement carries meaning. You are no longer aimless. You are no longer reactive. You move because you have direction. And when direction flows from the soul, even your shadow demands respect. So walk on, chosen one. Walk like every step is a prayer. Walk like the ground was created to hold you. Walk like those before you couldn't and those after you will be watching. You are not just walking, you are leading. You are not just going somewhere, you are becoming something. And the world is adjusting itself to that very fact. Chosen one, the fire inside you is no longer wild. It is wise. It is not the fire of recklessness or boyish anger. It is the sacred burn of discipline, restraint, and divine knowing. You've held it long enough to learn that true power is shown through reaction, but through the refusal to be pulled from your center. You do not flare up anymore. You radiate, and that radiant fire now lives beneath every word, every look, every choice you make. Not because you seek to dominate others, but because you refuse to be dominated by anything less than your purpose. There were seasons when you were tempted to unleash the fury. You had every right. You were pushed, mocked, dismissed. But you didn't lash out, you leveled up. You took all that heat and brought it inward, into the furnace of self-refinement. And now, what once was chaotic flame has become focused fuel. You become a man who knows what to burn and what to warm. A man who can blaze when needed, but prefers to glow with control. People feel this fire even if they can't name it. They sense it in your silence, in your patience, in the way you hold your ground when others fold. You don't need to intimidate to be respected. You don't need to erupt to be remembered. You don't seek to scorch. You seek to illuminate. Because that is what fire was always meant to do when held by someone worthy of carrying it. Women feel that fire, and it doesn't scare them, it calms them, because they know it won't consume them. They know it is not a fire that burns out of neediness, insecurity, or performative strength. It is a fire that guards, that shelters, that chooses. Your fire is a boundary now, not a burden. It is what keeps you dignified in conflict, gentle in chaos, and noble even when tempted to act otherwise. And your enemies? They fear it, not because it's loud, but because it doesn't flicker. They can't control it. They can't provoke it. They can't name it. Because this kind of fire cannot be bought or borrowed. It is earned. Earned through years of failing forward, through battles lost in silence, through mornings where getting up was itself a declaration of war. Your fire is not loud. It is loyal. Loyal to your vision. Loyal to your discipline. Loyal to the God who lit it in you. So tend to this fire, chosen one. Let it warm your path, not scorch it. Let it guide your hands, not harden your heart. Let it teach you that the fiercest blaze is the one that doesn't need to prove it can burn, but remains steady and bright long after others have gone out. Chosen one, your voice has changed. It doesn't need volume to be heard or force to leave an impression. You no longer speak to fill silence or to impress. It is when you speak, and how, that people remember. There is a gravity to your words now. They fall with the weight of meaning. They arrive with the clarity of someone who has walked through the noise and emerged fluent in truth. You don't speak often, but when you do, something ancient seems to wake in the air. Even those who would dismiss you fall silent, not because you command fear, but because you carry something real. This shift in your voice did not come from learning tricks of influence or rehearsing lines of power. It came from pain. It came from pruning. It came from losing your voice when others dismissed you and choosing not to go quiet. You stopped yelling. You stopped debating. You began to speak only from the well that had been dug in you by time, suffering, reflection, and prayer. That's why people pause when you speak. Your voice sounds like it knows something, like it's been somewhere they haven't. And more than anything, it sounds like it belongs to someone who doesn't waste breath trying to prove anything. Your voice is no longer driven by reaction. It is rooted in restraint. You do not speak to perform, you speak to build. Sometimes to build courage. Sometimes to build silence. Sometimes to build a mirror for others to see themselves clearly. You know that not all moments deserve your words, and not every listener has earned your truth. So you wait, you feel, you discern. And when you do speak, what you say becomes unforgettable. Not because it is clever, but because it is clean. Free of ego, free of agenda, aligned with who you are. Women hear something in that voice that they don't hear from others. It isn't smoothness, it's sincerity. It isn't dominance, it's depth. Because you don't raise your voice to take space, you speak with authority that already owns it. You're not trying to be admired, you are trying to honor the moment. And when a man speaks from that place of sacred timing, of emotional clarity, of unshakable inner knowing, he becomes the kind of presence people trust without even understanding why. You've learned that speaking less is not weakness. It is refinement. It's control. It's the signature of someone who no longer feels the need to fill the air because his spirit already occupies the space. You don't need to narrate your worth anymore. Your life speaks for you. Your gaze speaks for you. Your posture, your walk, your energy, all of it speaks. So when your voice joins the chorus of your presence, it doesn't echo. It lands, and it leaves something behind. Something that lingers, something that lifts. Keep your voice rooted in clarity, chosen one. Let it be an extension of your peace, not your pride. Let it speak only when it serves truth. And always remember, your voice is not your power. Your power is your silence. Your voice is just the moment that silence chooses to sing. There is something around you now, chosen one, that cannot be touched but is undeniably felt. A resonance, a field, an aura. It moves before you and lingers after you've gone. It's the unspoken hum that makes heads turn even when you're not trying to be seen. It is not fashion, it is not fragrance, it is not posture, it is presence. And this presence comes from alignment, spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical harmony. When a man brings all of himself into order, he doesn't need to say a word. The atmosphere adjusts around him. Your aura is not light and clouds. It is not mysticism or mystique. It is grounded power. The power of someone who has stopped betraying his core. Someone who carries no tension between who he is and who he appears to be. Your presence does not project. It anchors. It holds space without effort. It changes the emotional climate of a room without needing permission. And because of that, people feel drawn, not to your appearance, but to the integrity of your being. Women especially feel this. They may not name it, but they notice it. They soften in your presence, not because you try to disarm them, but because your energy invites safety. There is no neediness in your aura, no manipulation, no attempt to seduce, just a quiet, confident truth that radiates from within. And that truth makes them lean in. Not with fear, not with fantasy, but with respect. The kind of respect that says, this man is not here to consume me, he's here to contribute something. This aura was not bought or borrowed, it was built. It is the result of nights alone, confronting your wounds, of discipline practiced when no one was watching, of prayers whispered not for results but for understanding. And now, all that unseen work moves with you. It lingers in your silence, it breathes through your laughter, it hums through your footsteps. Your aura is not just felt, it's trusted. Because it is not hollow, it is not for sale. It is the overflow of a soul that finally fits its own body. Your aura also warns. It protects, it repels what no longer serves you and draws what truly aligns. You don't chase, you don't beg, you don't force. You simply attract by standing still in your full, unapologetic truth. And when a man does that, his aura becomes not just a presence, but a message. A message that says, I know who I am, I know what I carry, I don't compete, I complete. So hold that aura close, chosen one. Guard it with discipline, honor it with choices, nourish it with peace. Let it continue to grow, not through control, but through surrender. Because when your aura becomes an extension of your soul's alignment, you don't need attention, you become intention. You don't chase love, you embody it. You don't pursue respect, you become the standard by which others measure it. Chosen one, you are no longer invisible, not because you craved recognition, but because your transformation has become impossible to ignore. You used to walk through crowds unnoticed, quietly observing, quietly becoming, quietly enduring. Now the same people who overlooked you pause mid-sentence when you enter. They don't always know why. They feel it more than they understand it. But your presence, your peace, your quiet command of self, it testifies. And when a man lives aligned with truth, he doesn't need to introduce himself. His being becomes a witness to something greater. You are not loud, but you are loudly felt. You don't try to stand out. The world simply makes space for you because you are no longer dimming your light to make others comfortable. You've done your time in the shadows. You've built in silence, healed in solitude, prayed through storms that left no scars others could see. But every storm added weight to your words, power to your posture, and depth to your decisions. That weight now follows you. It enters the room with you, and it tells a story without ever asking permission to speak. Some are drawn to you with curiosity, some with admiration, others with envy and unease. But all of them feel something. Because what you carry now cannot be fabricated, borrowed, or imitated. You have earned this aura through nights that demanded your sanity, through mornings that tested your will, through decisions that no one applauded. And the quiet power that now clings to you has made you a mirror. People don't just see you, chosen one, they see themselves through you. And for some, that clarity is uncomfortable. You've become a reminder of what's possible when a man refuses to stay broken. A reminder that dignity is still sacred. That masculinity can be tender without being weak. That silence can roar, that consistency can lead, that stillness can stand taller than noise. You carry all that now, not because you demanded it, but because God prepared you for it. And now, without speaking it, your life is a witness. Not to perfection, but to process. Not to image, but to identity. Not to trends, but to timeless truth. You are watched, chosen one, not because of fame, but because you're rare. You carry a standard few can maintain. You walk in a peace most have never known. You make decisions from a place most have never touched. And even those who don't understand your journey feel the gravity of it. They don't know what it cost you to become this anchored, but they feel the value of your anchoring. You are not who you were. You are not who they remember. You are now the witness of your own evolution, and your presence calls others to their own. Let them watch, not for pride, but for purpose. Let your integrity be the sermon. Let your stillness be the scripture. Let your laughter be the hymn. You do not owe anyone performance, you owe them presence. And that is the greatest testimony of all. Chosen one, this world does not remember echoes, it remembers origins. And you are not an imitation, you are a living beginning, a walking standard, a quiet revolution that wears no crown but still shifts everything it touches. Your legacy is not carved in stone monuments or chanted by millions. It is planted in the soul of everyone who crosses your path and realizes they've just encountered something different, something real, something unforgettable. Your legacy is not about how many people know your name, it's about how many souls were changed by your presence. Every time you chose discipline over indulgence, truth over ease, purpose over popularity, you were writing it. Every time you stood in silence, instead of defending your worth to those who could not see it, you were carving it deeper. Your legacy isn't loud, it's lasting. It doesn't ask for applause, it demands reflection. This world is loud with men who chase power and fame. But you, chosen one, you chased alignment, you chased God. You chased the man inside yourself that would not stay quiet, even when the world tried to silence him, and now you walk as the result of that chase. You no longer run after validation. You walk in the confidence of one who knows his source. And from that walk, from that voice, from that fire and aura and witness, you leave behind a trail that others will one day follow. Women see it, not just in the way you speak or move or lead, but in the way you remain. In a world of temporary, you are truth made steady. You don't just captivate, you convict. You don't seduce with charm, you summon with integrity. That's why they say you're different. That's why they remember you long after you've gone. You are not a moment, they feel you as a movement. A shift in atmosphere, a higher standard, a man who doesn't ask to be chosen because he already knows he is. Your legacy is in your restraint, your refusal to settle, your quiet refusal to bow to anything lesser than the call inside you. And now, without fanfare or drama, you are fulfilling that call. Your existence is an answer, and the generations that come after you may never know your name, but they will inherit your decisions. You walk so others can walk easier. You stand so others can breathe deeper. You speak so others can remember who they are. Chosen one, you were never meant to blend in. You were meant to set the tone, not through domination, but through divine presence. And now that you have arrived in it, own it, live it, carry it into every room, every conversation, every season. Your legacy is not a future story. It is now. Because you are no longer becoming, you are. Chosen one, you are not made to be ordinary. From the beginning, God wired your soul with something that defies definition. You were not built for noise, for validation, for desperate reachings toward attention. You were built to carry presence. That rare, magnetic stillness that does not beg, but simply is. It cannot be faked, and it cannot be ignored. Your power does not come from how loudly you speak or how sharply you move. It comes from what moves through you. There is a divine charge within you that sets the air humming before you even say a word. It's not your voice that draws them. It's your alignment. When your body, spirit, and soul agree, when your walk reflects your call, when your thoughts are governed by clarity, everything about you becomes magnetic. People may say it's confidence. Others may call it charm. But those words fall short. What they're truly sensing is God's order within you. And yes, women feel it. They feel the calm steadiness of a man who doesn't need to prove. They feel the quiet restraint of someone who could dominate but instead chooses to anchor. You don't hunt approval, you carry truth. And that truth creates peace in others, even when they don't know why. Because you were never created to be consumed. You were created to be remembered, as a standard, as a mirror, as a compass in a world that lost its direction. You do not have to explain this magnetism. You live it. And as long as you remain in alignment with the one who made you, your life will draw others not just to you, but towards something higher. You are not their escape. You are their awakening. You walk with weight, not noise. with stillness, not chaos. You don't chase attraction, it follows presence. And your presence, chosen one, is God's proof that masculine authority and sacred gentleness can exist in the same vessel. Chosen one, your power is not loud. It's not in how you raise your voice or flex your shoulders or assert your place at the table. Your authority is quiet, not because it's weak, but because it's rooted. When a man is rooted in who he is and who he belongs to, the world around him begins to adjust itself. That is the effect you have now. The moment you enter the room, the tone changes. Not because you're seeking control, but because you're carrying truth.